Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Tomo and welcome to my pre-race Chinwag for the 2024 Singapore Grand Prix, joined by Minton. And if you are listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, well, on Spotify, there is a video version of this. Not live, of course, on YouTube. Welcome to everyone in the chat. DH, Bass, Deckering, Grace, Drain, Dan, Akiwi, Halita, Patrick, Josiah, Bass, Laura. Welcome all. Thank you all for joining. I hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all doing good and fine and happy and healthy. Okay? Check out the pod. Spotify, Apple Podcast. There was a bit of an issue getting the Apple one uploaded for my Baku post-race, but it's fixed now, so it should be good moving forward. Lovely jubbly. Minton's just sat on my shoulder. Sat on my shoulder like he likes. He's been kipping today. He's been kipping this morning. But I thought I'd drag him out of the bed to say hello, okay? He's got to put work in. You've got to put work... Mate, if you want to earn your living, you've got to help Daddy with his work, all right? Okay? It's been so long since... Has it been a while since that? I mean, I don't keep a track of how often I bring Minton into these streams, but I'm glad you're happy to see him. And he'll stay put on my shoulder for as long as he's comfortable. Once he starts to fidget a bit, we'll chuck him off. Not literally. Don't worry, I won't literally chuck him off. He can chuck himself off. He does sometimes, like he will try and jump off from like standing height at times when he's like really excited. No sense of self-preservation, buddy. Right, let's talk round 18, should I say, not 18, round 18. Singapore. Back to the Marina Bay Street Circuit. A race that, wow, gave us a lot last year, didn't it? In a year that was dominated and many a race was a given, wasn't it? It wasn't just that the same person was winning all the time. It was that person. It was just such a given that Max was going to win. Like the odds must have been insanely bad for anyone else because it just felt like it was routine and he wasn't having to scrap for it and work for it in an entertaining way. Well, Singapore went wrong for Max, didn't it, last year? And Red Bull more generally, out in Q2, out-qualified by Liam Lawson, remember, as well. And it gave us one hell of a race, didn't it? Carlos Sainz won ahead of Lando and Lewis. Jules crashed at the end. The way Carlos managed this race was iconic. It was so good. Like, it offered so much. It was really interesting, really compelling. Will it do the same this year? Because it has very unique characteristics. Hence why the Red Bull that had dominated so much the RB19 of 2023 was so out of sorts. Now you look at the Red Bull RB20 in its current form and it feels out of sorts in Baku. It felt out of sorts in Monza. I say it felt out of sorts in Baku. In the hands of Max, it felt out of sorts. Not Checo. He could have won that race. He could have won that race. But yes, great performance by Liam Lawson last time. There's rumours about Liam potentially getting announced at V Carbohydrate after Singapore. Obviously, we've got a nice big break again after Singapore before Austin. We'll see. We could be waiting a while for that one. Do you want to go down, mate? You're starting to get a little bit... I mean, you're falling asleep, basically, so... He needs to remain conscious to be able to keep his balance, you know, it's kind of important. But yeah, absolute strategy masterclass, as you say, Arrow, well deserved from Carlos. Really a big drive that put him on the map. It's one of them that, you know, unfortunately we don't see loads of those drives from Carlos. We know he's got the capability, he proved it in Singapore. Unfortunately, we don't just see that often enough, you know. You saw how Shah was scrapping for the win in Baku, right up the front, and Sainz caught up, but not soon enough. I mean, of course, him and Checo crashed in the end, so it wasn't great. But we move. We move indeed. Also, the frame rate's dropped on the live, but hopefully YouTube is still feeding you a lovely high-quality stream. So yeah, that happened last time out. Fingers crossed we get another Singapore night circuit banger, because what a track it is. It might not be overtaking Nirvana, certainly not, hence why Carlos could do the strategy he did where he held everyone up. But I'll tell you what, it's a vibe. It's absolutely a vibe, okay? And a wet race, true, Alita. It's looking odds on to be wet. And I mean, what was it, was it 2017 where we had the big Raikkonen Vettel Verstappen crash at the start of the Singapore Grand Prix? That was in the wet. I feel like we don't often see it in the wet. I feel like most of the time it is dry. But then, I mean, I've been to Singapore before. It's the weather, the humidity, the potential for rain, of course, but it's a tough one on the drivers. Franco Colapinto is going to struggle. He's going to struggle around here because he's not had long in that Williams car, and this is a track where it takes all of your physical energy, it depletes you, and you make one little mistake, which you're more likely to when you're in that state of kind of high stress on your body as well as your mind, then you're more likely to slip up. But yeah, it was 2017. That was chaos. You know what was the saddest thing about that is that because 2017 McLaren were absolutely washed, and Fernando had a great start, and he was on. If he hadn't got taken out, basically got caught up in that crash, didn't he? He'd have been on for a fantastic finish. But 2017 trash. That was their one opportunity that year, and wasn't to be. Wasn't to be. So, driver standings. After 17 of 24 races in 2024, Max still leads 59 points ahead of Lando Norris. Is there a title fight? Is there not a title fight? It's all going to come down to Austin, isn't it? Austin is the upgrade, or say upgrade. I keep saying upgrade. It's not an upgrade. It's a change to the car that Red Bull are making in Austin that they are hoping will remedy some of their issues, okay? Because right now, as things stand, so that's 59 divided by 6, 7, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 7. 7. So 8.5 points Lando needs to outscore Max by on average for the next 7 races for there to be a championship. Which again, if the Red Bull stays the same, stays as it is, that's very much doable. If Red Bull find a remedy in Austin to at least improve it, at least make Max more confident in that car, then 8.5 points per race is a bit too much out there. But it takes one DNF either way, and things can slip up. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out. It's so many variables, so many factors. Anyone who says there's no chance for a championship fight is there is, of course, a chance. Of course there's a chance. Of course there's a chance. Is it unlikely? Perhaps. It depends on that upgrade. That's what determines it. If they don't fix the problem with this change in Austin, then I think there's absolutely a title fight on. But again, it requires Lando to maximise each weekend. And certainly didn't happen in Baku. But yeah, 59 points between the two of them. Charles Leclerc, 19 behind Lando Norris. Piastri as well, nipping at the heels of Charles Leclerc. Look, realistically, the only driver standing position that matters is P1. Constructors, on the other hand, well. Williams cooked, of course. Haas are cooking as well. Racing Bull's struggling. You got to think that as the momentum goes, as things stand, it's Haas looking good for P6, Williams for P7. What a turnaround that would be from Ayao Komatsu if they can convert P6 in the team standing since he took over. That would be something else that deserves a lot of credit, because Haas are a team that, you look at Gene Haas and his lack of investment relative, and Gene has said, he feels that team could achieve more. With the level of investment he's given, I think Ayao Komatsu has proven that to be somewhat true. But, that is the absolute ceiling. There's no way they're breaking that top 5 with the level of investment they have at the moment. They need a big title sponsor. I'd love to see, again, Haas Toyota was rumoured, wasn't it? That's a potential way in. That could be cool. Time will tell on that one. But Williams P7 being a stretch, I don't think so, Yash. Not given the upgrades that came in Zandvoort. That Williams has been a Q3 car since the upgrade came in, which, again, their upgrade was weight saving, took a lot of weight off the roll hoop, which is quite high up weight. So it meant it's not only taken weight off, but it's also improved the centre of gravity. The less weight you have on the car, the more you can add ballast in, strategic places to improve performance as well. It's it's a tricky one. Why don't Haas just keep Behrman for the rest of the season? Well, ban, he did put in a very good performance. Of course, Kevin has a contract. And, you know, I think that Kevin's been a loyal servant to Haas. Would Haas get value from leaving Ollie in the car for the rest of the season? Yes, absolutely, because it gives him more preparation for next year. But I think that would be a bit muggy for K-Mag to kick him out, given, you know, what he's given to the team, the fact they got shot of him and then they called him back and he stepped up when all the Mazepin stuff kicked off. He was there, jumped in, was a very good servant to that team. So I really don't think that they should be kicking Kevin Magnussen now, even though that would certainly help Ollie and certainly help Haas in the long term. Haas don't have the money to break contracts. True, Alita. True. So yeah, team standings. I mean, for me, it's Ferrari, isn't it? That are the... Wait, what is going on with these relative numbers, by the way? I've definitely messed up one. I don't think I've not seen any of you in the live chat notice, but for some reason I've put the gaps as like Ferrari are... Oh wait, no, I haven't. Sorry, I'm talking about my rear end. I'm just misreading the graph. The graphic's actually correct for once. It's just I'm washed, and therefore I am misreading it. 31 points between Red Bull and Ferrari. Look, it almost feels... The race that Checo turns up in Baku could have won that race if Norris hadn't held him up. I absolutely think he could have won that race if Norris hadn't held him up. Max is nowhere. So it's like, you've either got what... They can't have both drivers be good. Either Max is really good and Checo's nowhere, or on this one occasion, Checo's flying and Max is nowhere. They need to get back to where they were prior to Australia this year, really. Classic Lomo moment. Indeed. But yes, otherwise, remains to be seen on that front. Okay. Let's talk predictions, shall we? Predictions for the 2024 Singapore Grand Prix. Again, street circuit, Marina Bay, difficult to overtake. Walls are right there. A real physical challenge for these drivers. My winner for the 2024 Singapore Grand Prix is Charles Leclerc. I think Charles is going to deliver. He loves it round here. He loves the street circuit. That Ferrari's cooking. I think... As much as Oscar did mug him in Baku, absolutely, and Charles spoke post-race like, shouldn't have made that so easy for Oscar, and I thought that at the time. I think he'll deliver around the streets of Baku. I think his Ferrari's in a really good place at the moment. I'm not sure how that will fare when we get to Austin and Mexico and Sao Paulo, but I feel like at a street circuit like Marina Bay, I'm confident that Charles Leclerc is going to bring it. I predicted Charles to win last race. He didn't. He finished second. I'm going to predict him to win this race. And it was looking good for him at Baku. It was. I think that crash in FP1 maybe did bite him as well, right? Because he lost a lot of long run practice time, which could have, maybe, is the correct way of putting it, paid dividends in the race. But alas, I mean, that tyre warm-up was stinky on the Ferrari, but there you go. I think they're in a good place, and I think he'll win. But what about you? Well, 1,072 of you voted. Thank you very much for voting, wherever you are in the world. Appreciate you all interacting, whether it is via Twitter or via YouTube community. Make sure you like this stream, by the way, if you're watching on YouTube, and subscribe to the channel so you can get involved in the community posts. Also, if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, if you want to get involved, you can still get involved. It's just you have to go to the YouTube channel, Tommo on YouTube, and subscribe, community posts, lovely jubbly. Okay, your winner for the 2024 Singapore Grand Prix is Lando Norris. 36% of the vote to Lando, 27% to Charles Leclerc, 14% to Oscar Piastri, and 10% to Carlos Sainz. And all McLaren, Ferrari for... God, it's actually mad, isn't it? The level of absolute dominance from Red Bull and Max Verstappen last season, and now we're getting predictions where there's no Red Bull in the top four. It's crazy. And I think it goes to show, you know what I think it shows more than anything is how difficult and how impressive it was that Max and GP and his side of the garage were able to convert those wins, just race after race after race after race after race. I mean, without Singapore spoiling the little run, couldn't have Max had like, I'm sure it was like 19 wins in a row or something without Singapore. I think it was. I could be wrong there. But yeah, so we've got 2 McLarens, 2 Ferraris race win. You've gone Lando. It needs to happen. This for me is a huge opportunity because, again, given the pace of the Red Bulls last time out in Singapore, and now how much worse they are starting from, worse a position they're starting from, it's bro. They have to make it count. Lando has to make it count this weekend. Maximise points and hope that Max is on the fringes. Because Max and Checo, again, looking at last year and looking at how the competitive order has changed, they could be fighting with the Astons and the Williams this weekend. They really could. They actually really could. So we'll see. We'll see if he can deliver. I mean, it'd be great because that means a championship fight and we all love a championship fight. Finally, not finally, far from finally. We're far from done. What am I saying finally for? Banger drive. For me, and I think a driver who's, you know what, he's had a difficult, kind of good at the start, had a real like struggle in the middle of the season. And since a bit of news came out, but not even just that, to be fair, just over recent weeks, he's really stepped up. And I think we're going to see a very good result from him. He drove really well in Baku as well. Very under the radar, though. I'm going Fernando Alonso. Banger driver for me in his Aston Martin. It's a difficult car. You know, they're going to be, I think, just consolidating this season. They're comfortable P5. They don't have to worry about a Constructors' Championship, like whether it's getting caught or doing any catching. They can just kind of, the car is what it is, consolidate, get you together for 2025. Adrian comes in the March, but, you know, he's not going to be looking at the 25 car at all. He's going to be focusing on 26. And I think Fernando, I think there's good momentum there. I'm going Fernando Alonso for banger drive. As for your banger drive, you've gone Charles Leclerc. Only 13% of you, though. So you went Lando race win, but Charles Leclerc banger drive. And then 10% of the vote to Sainz and Hamilton, both the exact same number of votes, actually. Both got 108 votes for Carlos Sainz and Lewis Hamilton. And then Piastri also got 10%, a few fewer votes than Sainz and Hamilton. So yeah, you think the Ferraris are going to cook, as do I. Lewis Hamilton 10%. Who knows with that Mercedes, man? It's just like they were really inconsistent and slow. Then they were kind of they were a bit more consistent and kind of quick, and now they're quick but inconsistent. It's just all over the place. But again, I mean, they've not really got anything to fight for. They're not going to catch Ferrari and McLaren and Red Bull and the Constructors. They're not going to lose out to Aston. So consolidate, build for the future. Kimi Antonelli, George Russell. That's going to be really interesting next season. That is going to be very, very interesting. Okay, clanger drive for me, my pick is Max Verstappen. If Max is ever going to get predicted clanger, surely off of the back of Monza and Baku in the Red Bull in its current form, around Singapore where he really struggled last year. Look, you're not going to get these clanger predictions very often, Max, but if you're ever going to get it, it's this weekend. So, sorry, mate. We'll see. Look, maybe he'll turn up, but my expectations are low for Max's side of the garage. Again, particularly that discrepancy between Perez and Verstappen. I can't believe Checo Verstappened Max. He did. He did what Max has been doing to him week in, week out. Max wasn't even close. And he's just the setup, messing with the setup before qualifying, and then obviously part firme means you can't change it, and he was kind of doomed from there, running through his tyres. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see with Max, but I'm not expecting much. Your clanger driver is also Max Verstappen. 28% of the vote. Damn. Just this will not happen again. So just, take it in, right? Watch it, drink it in, because this is a one-off. We're not going to see this again. 14% Lance Stroll, 11% Sergio Perez. I think that's more to do with the Red Bull car because he's very good around Singapore and was very good around Baku. I mean, Perez for banger, honestly, I think it's way more likely. My banger drive, I was going between Alonso, Piastri, and Perez for banger drive for me. I went with Alonso just because I think he's been doing bits recently and last few races and not, but it's been very invisible, I guess. But I think Perez is going to have a good drive this weekend because, again, he can handle this weird Red Bull more than that in its right current form, in this current precise moment. But again, if they fix things in Austin, then it could be different. And then 7% if you went Norris Clanger drive. So, I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Right, banger team. I've gone Ferrari. Shall win science podium. Maybe not science podium. I think it's close enough. I feel like, I'm feeling a Charles win and then followed by the two McLarens. That's probably what I'm feeling. Maybe Checo. Maybe Checo makes his way in there actually. I could see a McLaren Ferrari. Maybe it'll be the same three again. But then Lando, I mean, as long as Lando doesn't mess up qualifying, he should have been up there in that fight for Baku, and he would have been if he hadn't have got so unlucky in qualifying. So, but yeah, I think that banger team Ferrari. I think they're in a good place, and so do you. 37% of the vote Ferrari. We've gone very similar this weekend. I like to do all mine first, so that I'm not even subconsciously influenced by yours. And it turns out we're singing from the same hymn sheet this weekend. 37% of the vote for Ferrari, 31% for McLaren, 12% for Mercedes, 9% Williams. Yeah, Williams could well cook. I'm concerned for Colapinto because it's going to be a big challenge for him. But I mean, he did a great job in Baku, so we'll see. It's got a long straight at Baku. There's not many of them in Singapore. And Mercedes 12%. I mean, they are in terms of the most inconsistent teams right now. I mean, obviously Red Bull are up there because of the obvious, but I think Mercedes are right up there still. But again, it's building towards 2025. So you know what? If you've got to do a few experiments and if it's going to help for 25, then I guess it makes sense. And then a clanger team for me, Red Bull. For you, Red Bull. 40% of the vote you give him. 16% Sauber, 11% Racing Bulls, 9% Alpine. Okay. Interesting. Well, look, I feel like we're pretty aligned here. It's just the winner. I've gone Charles, you've gone Lando. I think Fernando's going to have a banger. You've said Charles, which, I mean, if Charles wins, then he will have had a banger, by process of elimination, he will have inherently had a banger. Right, cool, excellent, amazing, lovely jubbly. Right, I'm just going to quickly check. I think I had a little super chat earlier that I don't want to miss. Thank you, I think it's Sai, for super chat. Do you think if Norris wins the title, it will be one of the weaker championships of the last 30 years or so? Do I think it will be a weaker? I mean, my immediate reaction is no. I don't. I mean, I think that it depends what you define weaker, right? So, for example, I don't know, 2007, Raikkonen was kind of nowhere, and it was the McLaren's tripping. A McLaren should have won in 2007, obviously. Alonso and Hamilton, tripping up over each other and drama there, not maximising. And Raikkonen swoops in and takes it. I think, Raikkonen, you could say 2005 was actually Raikkonen's strongest year. I mean, I don't know. Look, at the start of the year, the Red Bull was still dominant. Let's remember, right? Up until that Miami upgrade. Yes, Lando got P2 in China and P3 in Australia, didn't they? But up until the Miami upgrade, the McLaren wasn't what it is now. I think before Miami, it was probably the second best car. since Miami, it's probably been the best car. But also, it's such a competitive order at the front. There's so much quality in F1 at the moment at the top end. When you've got Lewis and George, when you've got Charles and Carlos, when you've got Lando and Oscar, of course, when you've got Max and, Checo like he was in Baku. And Checo at the start of the season got 4 podiums in the first 5 races. So, I think that all plays into it as well. I think most championships aren't won easily, and these things don't happen in a straight line. No, I don't think it would be if Lando wins, it's, I think, a story of a really interesting recovery, but also it's required a regression from Red Bull. It's required Red Bull to, if Lando does win, it's required Red Bull to hit some, because it's not like Max has just gone from winning all the time to finishing third all the time, because that would still be enough to get it done. Or it would have, if Max hadn't had the last bunch of clangers that he's had. Yeah, that's the way I see it. I think there's a lot of nuance to it at the end of the day, and I think that, yeah, sure, Lando's missed opportunities. Also, McLaren have to take some of the responsibility for it as well, And I think Oscar shining as much as he has, especially in this kind of second half of the season so far, has just increased the eyeballs and the pressure and the expectation on Lando, That's the way I see it. And thank you, Jibril, as well. Oscar, a better finisher and killer instincts than Lando. Yeah, look, I mean, from what we saw in Baku, look, Lando walked away with it in Zandvoort, and that was such an impressive drive to do that and just win in such dominant style. But the way that Oscar had to work for that win in Baku, yeah, probably is more impressive than an equivalent performance we've seen from Lando, in my opinion. I do think, and I said about this in the last video, spoiler alert, in terms of the real pace gap between them is a tenth, and it's in favour of Lando. It's within a tenth, looking at as many variables as possible, as much data as possible to get a true reflection. 13.4 head-to-head is misleading as far as I'm concerned. It doesn't tell the story. What tells the story is 0.08 of a second, less than a tenth between the two. That to me is representative of what the actual gap has felt like over the course of the season in one lap pace. Lando is quicker than Oscar. Lando's, I think, better on the tyres than Oscar. But in so many other ways, I think Oscar is there, if not better. That's why I think, next season, if you had to give me 2 buttons, who's going to score more points in 2025? I'd hit the Piastri one. I would. But also, that can be the case, but also, the level of vitriol I've seen towards, Lando is crazy. Some people just need to get a life. Honestly, it's really not that deep. It's sport. Grow up. But yeah, either way. Unfortunately, that is the game. The game is the game. Okay, 28 minutes done. We've got some liveries to look at because we've had a couple of special edition liveries announced for this Grand Prix. So far, we've got 2. And let's have a little look at them because we love a livery over here on the Tommo YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Starting with Mercedes. Petronas Special Edition. You can see there is quite a bit more teal here. It's kind of on the nose and more so on the side pod. Kind of up here. See a little bit more there. This is for Petronas. Yeah, it's Petronas, is it? What is it like? What does it say here? 50th anniversary of the squad's technical and title partner, Petronas. So there you go. It's cool. It's just a slight variation on their normal livery. I like the side profile, actually. I prefer this side profile. Yes, you can argue the Petronas logo isn't as visible and legible, but this side profile I actually prefer. But I don't really like the teal nose. I prefer this. If you could give me the car with the normal nose, but this side profile, for me, that's an upgrade, in my opinion. So I'm going to give this a... Ooh, well, actually, no, you know what? Let's get your votes, right? We'll just bang a clanger, shall we? Right, so Mercedes livery. Is this a banger, clanger? Is it small bang or is it mild clang? Again, I'd love to have 5 options so we can put a bang in the middle one, but YouTube does not allow that. So let me know what you think. Yeah, no, I think this side profile is spot on, actually. And it should just stay like that. Because it's still mainly black. It's still mainly kind of exposed carbon, but you've just got a little bit more teal. And I just think that's a bit more aesthetically pleasing from the side, in my opinion. But again, the nose for me, this is a bit weak. I ain't feeling this. Is there any more pictures? It's got the little 50 years thing, and there's some like nice details around the back as well. Yeah, I mean it's nice. Is it? I don't think, for me, I'm neutral on it. I prefer it from the side. I don't like it as much from the front and top. So I'm kind of neutral to this relative to the real, well, the normal livery, should I say, not the real livery. Don't care it's a livery. Tim. This is a livery caring zone here. Okay. At least briefly, all right? At least for this like 5-minute section. Okay, 341 of you voted. 18% banger, 62% small bang, 17% mild clang, 3% clanger. So generally, you're liking what you're seeing. Okay. Next, let's go with this. Right, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to show you pictures of the Racing Carbohydrate car for this weekend. It's a collaboration with Hugo Boss, who is one of their sponsors, or should I say just the Boss? Well, they're sponsored by Hugo and Boss. They kind of split the company. So this is part of the Boss side of things. Okay. So they've got like denim, basically. It's like a denim finish, got a big zipper on the side. Okay. That's not in the front. You've got the little like leather patch, fake leather patch here on the nose. Yeah. And we've got kind of like 2 different, they've got a darker denim and a lighter denim. And yeah, kind of a little bit of a distressed look here. Hopefully that looks like Yuki's side pod after Stroll punted him in back. And yeah, that's the top down. Okay. So I'm just gonna leave this on screen. I'm not gonna impart my thoughts and feelings on this one because I just want to. Right, Racing Carbohydrates livery. What do you think? Banger, small bang, mild clang, clanger. And again, if you're listening audio only, then you have a look. Just search it up. Racing Carbohydrate Special Edition livery for the 2024 Singapore Grand Prix. What do you think? What do you think? Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh no. Okay. The votes are coming in thick and fast. Currently sitting at 55% clanger, 22 mild clang, 13% small bang, 9% banger. What the... I don't have my little bleep thing connected. What is this? This is absolutely diabolical. What? Brother? Ugh. What? No. It's... Oh my God, it's awful. It's so bad. It's absolute trash. I mean, this angle gives me the ick. Like, you've got so much going on. You've got, okay, carbon, you've got white, you've got red, you've got light blue, you've got this patch, you've got dark blue, you've got this other blue, then the normal blue. You got the red, you got the little green of the cash app there, big green, the cash app, should I say. Like, if you're going to do it, why is this here? Why just do the whole livery? Why have you left this here? Why have you not made this denim as well? Like, I wouldn't like it still, probably, but don't leave that here. Just do the whole thing. Don't do half the job. Bro, they've done the front wings, they've done the nose, they've done the side pod, they've done it all, right? They've even done the side of the rear wing. They've done it all apart from this bit. Why? Like, why? Why? The composition of the livery isn't any different. Okay, it's the same composition, which is what the FIA look at if you can't have too many changes. The composition is the same. This is why, McLaren, good example, quite smart with how they've blocked the colours on the car, because they can then change the colours up and bring other elements in without changing the fundamental base design. Okay, they've got the same thing here, and they've just not finished it. Just finish the livery. Just do it. Literally, if I cover the screen and I look at it, I'm like, that's all right. And then they're just like, they've just got this, they're random like purpley blue, which is great. It's a great livery, one way or the other. But when you put them two, it's like, I really like tomatoes. I can sit through, I can scran a whole punnet of like plum, little plum tomatoes, right? Lovely jubbly. I also love Ben & Jerry's cookie dough in particular. If you stick a bunch of plum tomatoes in my cookie dough, I'm not going to be a happy boy, all right? This is what this is. They've stuck plum tomatoes in my cookie dough, and I'm not happy about it, all right? Okay, this is awful. Hang your heads in shame. Racing Carbohydrate, this is not good enough, okay? And 51% of you agree this is a clanger, 23% mild clang, 16% small bang, 9% of you are blind. Oh, I think it's a banger because that's absolutely awful. But there you go. It's like wearing a purple shirt with your jeans. There's just so much going on. There's too much going on. But yeah, anyway, right. Getting off that. I'm getting that off of my screen, and more importantly, your screen. I'm doing you a favour here. Explains my skin tone. Exactly that, Seamus. All right. You are what you eat, and I am a tomato. Right. Okay. Excellent. I think we're pretty good. I think we're pretty much done here. Any other particularly pertinent questions? Chat, anything I've missed? Briefly kind of go over before we'll check out outperform Max for the rest of the season. I could absolutely see him outperforming Max in Singapore this weekend. Yes. As for the rest of the season, no. I think Checo's relative performance to Max was a product of this being, Baku is a track that works for him to an absolute T. The right hand, 90-degree corners, traction zones, that is what Checo is good at. That's what Checo can excel at, and he's excelled at Baku. He's always excelled at Baku. He won both the sprint and the feature race last year at Baku, and Max couldn't catch him. So I think Singapore will be similar. I think Checo will outperform Max, but I do think it will be back to the usual in terms of their deficit for the remainder of the season from Austin onwards, especially because there is also an Austin upgrade, which is going... Because, look, realistically, right, Checo in Baku could have won the race. Like, he had the performance to win the race. And again, without Lando holding up, he could have won that race. It's a problem because Max is struggling. That's why this problem that Checo's been talking about since Barcelona 2023, I'm making a video about this, which will come out tomorrow. So keep your ears peeled, both. Now that Max is struggling, that's when it's a problem because Red Bull are happy with a clear 1-2. But again, will they fix the issue in Austin? That is what will determine whether this season goes down to the wire or not. That's the way I see it. That is the way I see it. Anyway, thank you, Jibril, for the super chat. In Baku, Leclerc couldn't dive bomb, even though he needed to. High-level, technical, clean driver, whereas Oscar did it. Never seen Leclerc dive bomb. Never seen Leclerc dive bomb. Do you mean... Wait, well, that move that Oscar put on Leclerc reminded me of the move that Leclerc put on Perez in Vegas last year. So, I mean, that's absolutely in his wheelhouse. Absolutely. Few of you are trying. Few of you. Are you trolling? Are you trolling with Liam Lawson news? Just going to check Twitter just to see in case I'm being duped here. Oh, that McLaren have got a special edition livery. Hang on a second. Before we wrap this, it's coming tomorrow. Okay, we can't see it yet. We can't see. Oh, Lando's got quite a cool helmet though. Let me show you Lando's lid for this weekend. That is actually pretty sick. I like that a lot. Look at that. Ooh, very nice. Very swirly. It's kind of cool. Anything else? Just while I've been streaming, because I always like to drop news just while I'm streaming, just because I'm that important. They are clearly always thinking about how to mess with me the most because I'm front and center of their minds. Okay, cool. I think we're done, everyone. Thank you all for joining. Thank you all for listening and watching, wherever you are in the world. A pleasure as always. Don't forget to like the stream, subscribe to Tommo on YouTube, and check out Apple Podcast, Spotify as well. If you want to listen or watch on Spotify, you can do that as well. My name's Tommo. Thanks again. Have a good one. Desktop Bodybuilding, Arsladden, Money Tree, Awkward, Vance, Scritchy, Cyber, Hop, Haze, Arrow, Japanese Cat, Luke, Blue, Shu, Halita, The Wood, first name, second name, Thomas, Dan, Shivam, Violet. Thanks again. Have a good one. Ta-da.